With the success of the Marvel Cave, the original tourist attraction in Branson, Missouri, that the Herschends purchased a 99-year lease on from the elderly daughters of the late William Lynch, who owned the place, but above ground. An Ozark village that was modeled after a Marmaros mining settlement was being constructed. There would arise a general store, a doll shop, a small log home, and an ice cream parlor. Along with this new addition and the cave that was down below, would bring the ultimate tourist experience to the Ozarks. The year was 1960. The Herschend family opened Silver Dollar City to the public with the reenactment of the Hatfields and McCoys feud, along with tons of country music. The inspiration of the name Silver Dollar City came from an idea that they would give guests silver dollars in change, which, fun fact, during that time, silver dollars had a slightly less than $1's worth of silver. This awesome innovative change saw the attendance rise from 80,000 visitors annually with just the Marvel Cave to 450,000 annually 6 years later with the formation of Silver Dollar City. The Herschends, riding high on their success in the 1960s and the early 1970s, would see attendance spiking 16% to a then high 900,000 annually. But by the mid-70s, attendance would begin to fall flat, with the Herschends needing to make changes yet again to add more life back into the park, and even more so, the Herschend Enterprises. Jack and Pete Herschend had the idea that the best possibility for growth to take place would be through acquisitions. In 1976, the Herschends purchased a small park in East Tennessee located in the Smoky Mountains of Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, called Gold Rush Junction, in which they shortened the name to just Gold Rush. A year later, in 1977, they changed the name completely to Silver Dollar City, Tennessee, to go along with their Midwestern sister park, Silver Dollar City in Branson, Missouri. 3 years later, in 1980, to continue the growing of the Herschend brand, Silver Dollar City in Branson, Missouri would receive the addition of a water park, with the dynamic in mind, which would officially be known as Silver Dollar City's Whitewater. A year later, in 1981, Herschend Enterprises would expand out to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and open a second Whitewater nearby Frontier City, although the two weren't associated at the time. 1982, Herschend Enterprises built a third Whitewater park in Grand Prairie, Texas. Finally, in 1984, now under the new company name change that took place in 1983, going from Herschend Enterprises to Silver Dollar City Incorporated, the Herschends would build one final Whitewater park to complete their water park expansions and additions. This one would be located in a town called Marietta, Georgia, and would go on to become the largest water park in the Southeast. Whitewater, Atlanta was built with in mind to fill the void of Atlanta being a great city that has no beach. This park was built to be the sibling of Silver Dollar City's Whitewater, which is advertised with the same concept of being the beach within reach. Originally, there were supposed to be two Whitewater parks to be built to serve and provide water park thrills to the Atlanta metropolitan area, with the second one supposed to be built on the intersection of I-85 North and Pleasantdale Road in Doraville, Georgia. This, unfortunately, would never come into fruition. Therefore, just the one Whitewater park at the price tag of $12 million was proposed on Thursday, November 11, 1982, to provide a service of fun and thrills that was lacking in the area. And most importantly, this filled the void of no major contending water parks were in the area. And lastly, Whitewater would provide what Six Flags Over Georgia couldn't, with no water facility, with just a couple of water rides. Whitewater Atlanta would become something that is more structured, fun, and more thrilling than Lake Lanier, and something that the South hasn't seen of this scale before. The first phase of construction of Whitewater Atlanta was proposed to be built starting in February of 1983. That covered 40 acres of property with a giant wave pool, which would become known as the Atlanta Ocean. Not the Atlantic Ocean, but Atlanta Ocean. That has 5 75 horsepower engines, one in each of the 5 bays that'll push air into the water and produce 5-foot waves. And along with that, several water slides would be commissioned to be built, including a water slide that was shaped like a corkscrew and a large swimming pool with rope-like swings. The Herschends knew they had a gold mine on their hands with Whitewater Atlanta, after the success that Six Flags Over Georgia was having with their newest edition of their very own whitewater rafting expedition ride in Thunder River Rapids that increased Six Flags Over Georgia's attendance by 8%. Six Flags Over Georgia at the time had no plans for a water park. Harry Hargrave, spokesman for Silver Dollar City Incorporated, stating that, "We chose Atlanta because it offers an an existing market and promises outstanding growth, for which indeed worked out well for Whitewater, Atlanta, where the parks could coexist by providing different thrills, with Whitewater having no rides and Six Flags Over Georgia having no swimming facilities. With Six Flags Over Georgia, park president Spurgeon Richardson stating, "When you bring in a good attraction, it builds up the whole area." He went on further to mention that this won't hurt us at all and that this is a first-class thing, essentially meaning that Six Flags is to rides what Whitewater will be to water. The theming of Whitewater is meant to emulate that of an old Georgia mill town, with the barbecue restaurant, merchandise shop, video game arcade, first aid stand, and ticket booths are all wood shingled and rustic, according to Margaret Knox, writer for the Atlanta Constitution, with Bob Morgan, marketing director for Whitewater, adding that we're retaining the natural landscape. The dogwoods, cedars, and rolling hills are in harmony with our wood walkways and handrails, brass lanterns, and general Milltown theme. Whitewater, Atlanta would open to the public on Saturday, May 19, 1984. By the mid-90s, the park was doing well, and it was very well received, and it was thriving with more than 40 water-based attractions, a 750,000-gallon wave pool, and by 1995, the largest children water playground in the country. The Treehouse Island, which is a 4-story area which was named the best new addition of 1994 by the International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions. The park would also host a fun competition for local celebrities and athletes called Family to Family Challenge, hosted by WSB-TV, where they would compete doing wacky water-based challenges for charity. But no park usually operates over a course of time without its woes. In June of 1998, a child defecated in one of the children's pools, causing an E. coli outbreak, infecting nearly a dozen children, that including son of then Atlanta Braves shortstop, Walter Weiss. This led to many changes within water parks, where you now see more fountain-type play areas for kids, that they can run through, splash, and have fun rather than sitting pool areas. 1999, a year later after the E. coli outbreak, Silver Dollar City Incorporated would sell Whitewater, Atlanta to Six Flags. Rick Baker, Silver Dollar City's vice president of revenue division, stated that the sale was not motivated by last year's E. coli outbreak, going on further stating that, "I know the timing of it would appear that way, but it wasn't a factor in the decision." Some would say otherwise, but Six Flags would take over Whitewater, Atlanta and change the name to what we know as today as Six Flags Whitewater.
These are the happy feet of Six Flags Whitewater. Happy because the waves are alive. The views are tropical, and the days are carefree. Six Flags Whitewater. Why summer was invented.
The park would start the initiation of hourly water quality checks and having chlorine levels kept higher than the state minimum since Six Flags took over. This sale marked the second water park that Six Flags purchased from Silver Dollar City Incorporated, with the Oklahoma City Whitewater being purchased by Premier Parks that originally operated as Tierco and is now with Six Flags after Premier Parks purchased Six Flags in 1998. The Whitewater Park in Oklahoma now operates today as Six Flags Hurricane Harbor, Oklahoma City. The second Whitewater that the Herschend family would build, Whitewater in Grand Prairie, Texas, would be purchased by Wet n Wild Incorporated and would be closed by 1985, which leaves the original Herschend Enterprises water park, Silver Dollar City's Whitewater, the only remaining Whitewater of the four still operated by the Herschend Family Entertainment Company. It is evident that Six Flags did in fact, despite multiple claims and reports that Six Flags was not interested in a water park. The truth of the matter is, they indeed had intentions all along to have water parks under the Six Flags umbrella, according to Roz Hutchinson, reporter from the Springfield News-Leader. But at the time, during this period in Atlanta, the amusement park market was oversaturated, with Whitewater originally supposed to have two parks, Six Flags Over Georgia claiming its own territory, Lake Lanier's water park, and a couple of other smaller amusement parks in the area. Six Flags held out and eventually decided that the time was right to just purchase water parks from Silver Dollar City Incorporated instead of building their own. This oversaturation even prevented the construction of a Busch Gardens to be built in Georgia nearby the Busch Brewery, location in Cartersville, Georgia. Whitewater, Atlanta would continue on with innovation and record-breaking accolades after being acquired by Six Flags. Along with being the largest water park in the Southeast, having the largest children's water playground in the country in 1995, a year prior having the Treehouse Island, which was named the best new addition of 1994 by the International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions. Six Flags Whitewater in 2011 would become the first in the world to introduce the virtual queue system to a water park with their Flash Pass system. In 2014, They would go on further to add Dive Bomber, which was the tallest slide ever built at the park at 10 stories to go along with Cliffhanger, one of the tallest water slides out there, dropping riders 9 stories. In 2016, introduced Wahoo Racers, the largest high-thrilling multi-lane matte water slide complex in the world, in addition to continuously being ranked one of the best water parks in the country in general. Cobb County in Georgia indeed would eventually see 2 water parks in the Atlanta metropolitan area, coming to fruition as planned back in the 80s. In 2013, Six Flags announced that they would be adding the biggest expansion in Six Flags Over Georgia's history, with the water park attached to the dry park, with the addition of Hurricane Harbor to debut in 2014, removing the legendary Southern Star Amphitheater. When asked if this will affect the attendance at Whitewater, Six Flags representatives responded by stating that in more than 30,000 guests each year and attendees have asked for a water park and rides parents can take with children, with the park president stating that he is not concerned that the new expansion can compete with Whitewater, and the company will aggressively market both parks. Along with this new Six Flags Over Georgia park expansion with the water park in Hurricane Harbor, Six Flags Whitewater remains still as only one of 3 Six Flags water parks under the Six Flags brand that is not a Hurricane Harbor. Whitewater Bay in San Antonio, Texas, although it is connected to Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. And finally, Six Flags Whitewater in Marietta, Georgia, located 15 miles from Six Flags Over Georgia. 2020 saw Six Flags Whitewater face one of the toughest seasons to date, with more than half of their rides and attractions closed. Not every restaurant opened, short-staffed due to the company having to furlough team members due to the global pandemic, and a very short operation schedule, only opening from around July 4th to Labor Day, which would imply that they operated at a loss for the 2020 season, with very minimal profits, if really any. But what we can expect in the future of Six Flags Whitewater is to continue to beautify the park, increase park maintenance and customer service, while adding groundbreaking attractions, starting with Python Plunge.
Feel the venom of Python Plunge, coming to Six Flags Whitewater. Climb aboard your tube and scream down the 5-story drop, whipping you through multiple spinning discs that snake their way through the tree line to the splashdown below.
Six Flags Whitewater, no matter through good times such as being the largest water park in the Southeast, introducing groundbreaking attractions, or being ranked as one of the best water parks in the country, or the bad times such as one of a fire breaking out in a maintenance shed at the park that ultimately made hundreds of guests having to evacuate the park. Although fortunately no one was harmed in the incident, and the park did reopen 2 days later on June 13, 2010. Whether it changes from company to company, name changes, or different logo variations, what is known now as Six Flags Whitewater has stood the test of time and has continued to be a staple in the community, and better yet, the world of water parks, where at its peak brings in over 500,000 guests per season, providing an escape from the scorching hot Georgia summers in the Atlanta Ocean, where all walks of life can experience relaxation, rest, and tranquility as they drift down the lazy river carefree into a zen-like oasis. Although the water park is the biggest one in the Southeast, another park also shared the property along with it, as Whitewater Atlanta would take up 40 of the roughly 69 acres, while another adventure, rarely spoken about, would be awaiting next door.